Good afternoon, Trading Adventure subscribers. Andy here with a midweek market update as we watch stocks continue to come under pressure. Here's the stock futures roadmap, which I post most every morning. And I want to point out first the NASDAQ futures here, clearly in a series of lower lows and lower highs as we get down below this anchored VWAP from the November 21 dip. S&P 500 futures are a little choppier, but still overall, we've got a declining sequence here with lower lows and lower highs. Russell 2000 was holding up better, and it's gotten a little weak here the last couple of days as we see some sharp selling come in from here to here and from this point down to this point. And the Dow really just chopping along. It's very close to recent highs and just overall flat for the past several weeks. So moving over to our daily charts here, I'm on Qs, so we'll look at that first. 2 days of really consistent selling here. We got down and tested this bit of a trend line here yesterday, and today we are testing that anchor, similar to what we saw on the NASDAQ futures. This is the anchor from the low back on August the 1st. So just to show you the similar but slightly different action there in the futures versus the QQQ ETF, but the result is the same. Lower lows, lower highs. We're in a short-term downtrend here, and I won't say we're in an intermediate-term downtrend, although the 8 and 21-day moving averages are declining now, and we are below a still rising 50-day moving average. So the 50-day rising, we still have to give the benefit of the doubt to the bulls in the medium term, but clearly we're under some pressure, and the results remain to be seen. SPY testing its rising 50-day moving average with the 8-day coming down slightly and the 21-day really pretty flat there. So holding up a little better, and the Dow is the star of the show. Here's this consolidation period that we entered first back on January the 5th. So that's a month of action now with a couple of quick excursions below, but very near highs and really holding up the best out of the four major indexes. And I'll show you a couple examples of why that is here in a few minutes. Bitcoin continues to get decimated. Ever since it lost this low back around $85,000, it's just been pretty much in free fall mode. All the moving averages are declining overhead. Every relevant anchored VWAP that we can add to the chart is coming down sharply above, and not any signs of a bottom there yet in Bitcoin. Every rally has been met with resistance and short-lived and resulted in a resumption of the move lower. So a lot of problem there in the cryptocurrencies. Bonds, we look at TLT, it's just drifting lower. Similar situation here. It's below all of the moving averages, which are all declining, and every rally has been met with resistance as it comes back down here and threatening. It's actually below this recent low from January the 20th and looking to potentially head lower. This is the week-to-date anchor here that has kind of kept the lid on things so far in bonds. And finally, the dollar. The dollar has rallied quite strongly here for the last several days. Not a lot of progress there overall. And if we expand this chart a bit, you can see still very clearly in a downtrend. So this is just a bounce in a downtrend. The 8 days kind of flattening out here, but all the rest of the moving averages are coming down, declining overhead. So that's what's going on with the dollar. Here's the precious metals as a combination. We saw the action just get really, really strong over the last week and finally found at least a short-term top and came down pretty abruptly there. And I'll go ahead and show you the gold futures individually. They came down, touched the 50-day average, and now they've bounced back and recovered roughly half of that decline. Is this resistance? This is the anchored VWAP off of the peak. Here's a flat 8-day moving average. So far, it looks like it is resistance, but we'll see what happens next with gold futures and silver futures, of course, looking pretty similar. I don't have an anchor in there yet. Let's go ahead and draw that in, and we can see that was basically the peak of today's action so far in silver futures. Now, while we look at the market kind of there from a big picture, let's go back to the Dow for a minute and revisit how this is holding up so well, and then let's go in beneath the surface a bit The staples are incredibly strong. This is traditionally a defensive sector of the market. These are the types of things people buy when they are feeling a bit more defensive. So looking at the XLP there as a group, look at things like Walmart. Tremendous run there over the last 4 or 5 days in Walmart. And that's what's going on in the industrials and the staples. On the other side of that, consider the software sector. Absolutely crushed. Just a lot of destruction there in the software names. The individuals, you can look at any number of them, and they've just been really getting hammered here lately. So while the market holds up fairly well so far overall, there are some sectors that showing just really intense selling pressure there. So that's what's going on beneath the surface. And so we continue to be in kind of a holding pattern. A wait and see situation for the overall market. Over the last several weeks, we've looked at things that show really tremendous strength, from breadth and participation to lots of areas of the market holding up really well. And the Mag 7, as I've pointed out a couple of times, has been a question mark. And the question was, is it going to get weaker and drag the overall market down? Or is that the last piece of the puzzle that is really needed to kick into gear to get things going up again? And so far, it looks like the former is the case. We see AMD, not technically one of the Mag 7, but here's a chart I drew on AMD earlier. It's right down in this area of previous relevant lows. And if it doesn't hold this area, then I think it's likely that it makes a trip down here to the 200-day moving average and the anchor off of this April 2025 low. It could chop around here. It may get a bounce before it does that. Or once again, maybe this is support one more time. This is the bottom of this earnings gap from back in October. But so far, the favorite is with the sellers. So I wouldn't be surprised to see AMD come down a little further. NVIDIA getting dragged down and finding some price history here. These are some recent lows that held previously, and the 200-day moving average is really very close here on NVIDIA. Google continues to be a leader in the Mag 7 names, but even it's under some pressure here the last couple of days. And then finally, we'll look at Microsoft, just really struggling since this earnings report back on January 28th. It's just kind of in free fall mode and does not look healthy. So it's just a mixed bag. We've got things that are doing well, areas of strength, and other major players, major names that are under a lot of pressure and really getting sold. So as swing traders, we continue to take each trade on its own, but we do want to be aware of the overall message of the market. And right now, the sellers are active and risk management is paramount.